There's a lot of Vegas fans Vegas Golden Knights fans in Las Vegas, Reid.
Wow, how about that?
That's how that works.
Yeah,
and I
something like that.
proudly wore my Chicago Blackhawks hat in their face.
They all
Thank
laughed
you
at
very much. 3 Stanley Cups in the past 15 years to their 1. So
yeah, 1 in the last 3 years.
you can keep on moving with
Okay,
that. Welcome, everybody, to
okay.
Basement Birds. We're moving on. Thank you very much. I'm
At
not
what
having
point
this discussion.
Is 3 and 15, okay? You're gonna be 50 years old, and you're like, oh, I've won 3 cups in the last 30 years.
Yeah, and
At what point do we stop?
I
At what
witnessed
point
it.
do we stop talking about that? Yeah, and I witnessed Vegas's, okay? You know? And they're gonna win it again this year. I don't know about that one.
I don't know about that one either.
As long as it's
welcome.
not the Maple Leafs or the
Welcome
Oilers.
to the Basement Bird Show.
Yes,
Logan,
welcome.
Reid, back at it
Yep.
again
Yep.
with the White Vans this week.
Speaking of
After
hockey, I just
a,
thought of something we can talk about real quick.
Okay, sure.
Thoughts on Ovechkin breaking the career goal record?
Well,
Did you
for
watch
those of you, for backup, for those of you that don't know, Alexander Ovechkin, one of the greatest hockey players of all time, just
The greatest goal scorer of all time.
He now is the grade 8, the leading goal scorer in the entirety of the NHL history. He has the most goals out of everyone. Just beat Wayne Gretzky, beat his record recently.
Yes.
And so he is, for those of you who don't know what Alex Ovechkin looks like, he is a 37-year-old Russian
Is he
man.
37? I thought he was 39.
Gray hair and a beer belly. He might be
now
39.
39. He's now 39.
Well, I lost 2 years in there, but
what is his road meal? Is like Subway and Cheetos or something?
yeah, he's not
probably
the epitome of fitness.
No,
we'll
he's
say.
probably the most anti-athlete.
He's a hockey player, and hockey players are unique in every sense of the word.
Yeah,
and he puts the puck in the back of the net, and that's all that matters. So
he's like a Russian Phil Kessel.
He kind of is, but Ovechkin knows how to put the puck in the back of the net and shoot it
sure
hard.
Does.
Better
than
I think
anyone else.
his teammates, I think, have a lot to do with it. They're setting him up with the opportunity. Ovechkin does a lot of standing in the same spot.
Absolutely.
You would think I compare it a lot to when Wilt Chamberlain, I think it was Wilt Chamberlain, scored 100 points.
Did that happen though?
One game. Was it Wilt Chamberlain or
it was
who
Wilt
the
Chamberlain?
Guy?
It was Wilt, but there's a lot of debate if that game happened because there was very minimal press coverage on it.
Okay. Well, whether or not he did, you would think if you're the other team at halftime and Wilt Chamberlain has 60 points, you say, now hold on a second. He has 60 of their 65 points. Maybe we should guard the guy who's scoring all the baskets. You know what I mean? It's not like
maybe they
Ovechkin
tried.
changes it up. He stands in the exact same spot and scores the exact same goal every single game. And you would think after a while, maybe someone would catch on to that. No. And you know what? I'm not upset about it. Good for him.
Good for him.
That's a
Absolutely.
lot of goals.
It
you
is.
know?
Yes. 895. He will hit 900 easily.
Oh, yeah.
And then he will probably prance off, retire to the KHL, and play in Russia like Jágr did in his career.
I feel that's what all the Russian guys did. If he plays another year, how many goals does he have this year? Do you have your stats up?
How many does he have this year?
Yeah.
I think he's in the 30s. He may be in the 40s.
So if he can get 50 goals this year, 50 goals next year,
could be at 1,000.
He'll be 1,000
He has 31.
goals.
One thing to talk about, too, though, is that his totals never tailed off. Okay, the last time he scored under 30 goals was in this would have been the COVID-shortened 2020-2021 season.
Mm-hmm.
Which was only 55 games. He still scored 24. In his year, he was 36. He scored 50 goals. Okay, other than that, the years that he scored less than 30 goals, 0. The only thing that could slow him down was a pandemic.
Yeah. I mean, that is
just wild.
Impressive.
He had 1, 2,
and look at his
3,
time
4,
on ice,
5,
though,
6,
too.
7, 8, 9 times he led the league in goal scoring.
He is 19. Last year, he was 38. 19 minutes of time on the ice as a forward.
Yeah.
That is a long time as a forward. That is a third of the whole game.
Yeah.
As a forward. So he's not slowing down. An interesting stat, though, looking at his stat line here, last year and the year before, he was in the negative for plus minus.
Interesting.
So that means that he was on the ice for more goals against than he was goals for, is what that means. So he's a minus 22 last year and minus 16 the year before.
Now, granted, say for this season, the Capitals have had a, kind of they're on a resurgence this year. They had some rough years between their Cup win in 18 and now, but they're in a little bit of a resurgence. But yeah, career plus minus is only 62.
Right.
Which is not crazy, all things considered. But he's well over a point per game, and now he's the NHL's leading goal scorer, which is crazy. I think. And
go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have a friend, who's a Penguins fan. I call him a delusional Penguins fan, and he is convinced that Mario Lemieux should be considered the GOAT of hockey because had he not, had the cancer and the injuries and stuff, he would have surpassed Gretzky. And, if, ands, or buts, yada, yada. You can go on and on. I think where I break it down, when you talk about the greatest, hockey players of all time, for me, Gretzky is the overall GOAT. I don't think there's much legitimate debating of that. Okay, he's the overall GOAT. Ovechkin is the greatest goal scorer the game has ever seen, and I'm going to say that Connor McDavid is the most skilled player the game has ever seen on a skill basis.
Right. Yeah, and
I don't think you can't say there's one GOAT. Like Gretzky is the overall greatest of all time. But then you can break it down into guys that are, there are different subsects of it. Scoring Ovechkin. Skill McDavid. All around like team player kind of guy. Probably throw Crosby in there. In that contention. I feel like a lot of people would go to him, but
most skilled American-born player, that would be Patrick Kane.
Patrick Kane,
by far.
When best guy who beat up a cab driver, Patrick Kane.
Okay.
But it's when people start bringing in the if, ands, or buts. My buddy's like, oh yeah, if Mario would have played this and this year, he would have beat. And I'm like, yeah, and if I started playing hockey at age 2, I may have been able to do the same as well. You don't know that. You
don't know that. He could have fallen down and broken his neck and never played again.
Yeah, okay. And, you're saying that and you're assuming that Wayne Gretzky was healthy his whole career? Or that Ovechkin was healthy his whole career? If Ovechkin stayed healthy his whole career, he would have broken this record a season and a half ago.
Yeah.
This thing would have toppled a lot sooner. And we still had to wait this long until he was 39 for it to get done.
You have to remember...
remarkable.
Ovechkin broke his leg this season.
Yes.
And has 42 goals in 61 games. 69 points in 61 games. He's over a point per game player after breaking his leg. If someone breaks his leg in the NBA, he's out for 2 seasons.
Russian machine never break.
No.
He just keeps going.
I mean, he was skating 2 weeks after he broke his leg at 39.
Yeah.
That is insanity.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, he's another level. I don't know. I mean, he maybe gets 1 or 2 more years, I think. Maybe one good one, and if he decides to come back, he'll just be a showpiece kind of thing.
I mean, my thought was that my original thought was I initially at the start of this year didn't think he had a chance of breaking the record this year. I think it would have happened sometime next year, but with him, at the pace that he is this season, it's remarkable that what he's done and that he did it. I don't know, like my initial thought is if he happens to break the record, he retires after the end of this season. I don't think that's going to happen with the spot that the Caps are in. I mean, the Caps are in a good spot. If they go on and say they win the Cup this year, I think that's his curtain call.
Maybe.
I think he could come back, play once more, play one more season, and then he'll go to the KHL, play for, Dynamo Moscow, and, ride off into the sunset there.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think he, I don't know. I'm looking at the list of current leaders for goals.
Yeah.
And Leon Draisaitl with 52. Ovechkin's in 4th.
Yeah.
As a 39-year-old. He's in 4th, and people in second are tied for second. So there's two people tied for second, and then Ovechkin. So he's technically in third, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw. I think it was Bleacher Report that put out a graphic about the timeline of when current players would need to play until to break the record, and all of the guys that you think of to be strong players, the McDavids, the Matthews, Draisaitl, like their years were all out until like the 2030s. They would need to play until. In order to break those, like to break the goal record,
Yeah.
If you look at the next closest active player, it's Sidney Crosby at 623, who is at the tail end of his career. Stamkos, 582, tail end of his career. Malkin, even more tail end of his career with 513. And then John Tavares at 493,
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, if
no way
Draisaitl,
that-
though, yeah, I mean, he's at 400, and this is his 11th year in the league. No, his 10th year in the league. This is his 10th year in the league. So even if he plays at the same pace for the next 10 years,
that still put him
he'll
only
be
at
at 800.
800. Yeah.
So, I mean, that just kind of shows.
That's still,
and Draisaitl's playing with McDavid.
Yeah.
Who, I mean, McDavid, was he on? He wasn't even on the goal scorer list, though. Oh, yes, he is. He's got, that's points. He's on. Let's see here.
He's got to be somewhere.
McDavid, though, is his what year in the league? Do you recall offhand?
McDavid?
I guess I'm going to see in about 1 second. Yeah.
Probably
he was
8th.
drafted in 15. So this is his 9th year in the league.
His 9th year in the league? Yeah.
So him and Draisaitl are about on pace.
Yeah.
Because
statistically, he's past the halfway mark. Because what? Average NHL career? Not average, but a good NHL career, what? Guys hit year 15?
Yeah.
And you're looking at retirement, and that word starts to get thrown around?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's a tough situation for.
I think it will be
and not really a tough
long
situation,
time.
but it's going to be a long, long time before that record is broken. But I mean, same thing. We're seeing a lot that's coming out now. People that thought that Gretzky record would never get broken.
Correct. Ovechkin himself didn't think it would be broken back when they talked about it with him in it was like 2016. They interviewed him, and he didn't even think it would be broken.
Right. So there's always a possibility. Never say never, as it were, but the likelihood of that happening, I would imagine, is not necessarily where it's at. You know what I mean?
For all we know, the person that's breaking that record may not even be born yet, which is crazy to think
you're
about.
not wrong. You're not wrong. Here comes Connor Bedard, ladies and gentlemen.
Or he could be some 10-year-old skating around in Pee-wees,
Right. Yeah.
Having no idea what the future would hold, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, brother. Yeah.
One last thing about the celebration that he had was fantastic.
Top tier.
Just
tier
belly
celebration
on the ice. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, if I ever did something like that, be a big fan.
Yes.
So, just I guess one more stat. He's at 1,600 points, right? Is that what I just saw?
I believe
for
that
his
sounds
career?
right. Yeah.
1,619 points. So I want to see what Connor McDavid's point total is. Oops.
His career record or his career number?
His career. Yeah, because that to me would be interesting. Just because
McDavid's at just over 1,000. 1072.
Yeah, so I mean he's going to pass, for sure pass Ovechkin in points.
Oh yeah, he'll probably end up somewhere in the Crosby range, 1,1700 probably.
Yeah,
that's some pretty good company though. Gretzky's record is a little bit out of reach though.
Yeah,
because his assist total is just insane. But
oh well, yeah. I mean the stat line for that is if you took away all Gretzky's goals,
he took
away all the goals, he'd still have the most points ever.
Yeah,
in
by
history.
42.
Yeah, well, but still, and you know what? Here's another fun stat for you. The Gretzky brothers have the most points out of any brother duo.
Yeah, because his brother has 3?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's like LeBron and his son hold the record for most NBA points scored by a family.
Father-son duo. Is that
Or
the
just
first
as a
time a
family in
father-son has ever played on the same team? Do you know?
It is, yes.
Oh.
Yes.
What's LeBron looking like? Because he's got to be towards the end of his career now, right?
He's
I
getting
mean, he
old.
started like
He was on the Pat McAfee show recently, and it was the best interview I've ever heard from an athlete on that show. Like, he did not hold back. LeBron's 40.
well, he doesn't care anymore. I think
Yeah.
he's over it. You know.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know. I guess I don't know enough about basketball to know
I mean,
like.
LeBron's 40, and he's averaging 24.5 points this season.
Is that a lot? Is that more than the above average?
Yes. He has not slowed down. At all. Like, yeah, like
He's
But
slowed
that may
down a
be
little
his-
bit though.
Wait, that might be his career average. No, that's this year.
28 points per game average.
That's his average? Okay, so he's
I
slightly
think
below
so.
average.
Points through 40, right?
Sure.
I don't know what P/40 means. Do you know what that means?
Nope.
Oh, 40 minutes for 40 minutes,
Oh, okay.
right? Because that's 10-minute quarters.
No, doesn't the NBA play 12-minute quarters?
It says points per 40 minutes is the stat that they have listed on ESPN.
How long is an NBA game? 4 12-minute quarters.
Well, I don't know
So
why.
why do they just do 40? What?
I don't know why it has points per 40, but
That doesn't
either
make
way,
sense.
28 this year. He was 29.1 last year. Before that, he was up over 30. So, I
LeBron
mean,
is
he's been
averaging-
hovering around 30.
He is averaging 27 points in his career,
Wow.
which is still crazy. Man can shoot a basketball.
He can. But anyway, yeah, he's never been my favorite person in the world. I don't know what your feelings on LeBron are, but
I'm pretty neutral
he's
on him.
always. I mean, I guess maybe
Yeah.
maybe that's a topic for another week. Is
I don't dive too deep into the LeBron versus Jordan debate. I think it's an era debate.
I mean, we literally just had the same debate though about hockey players.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's saying that anyone from the modern era though is the GOAT. Like people talk about LeBron and Jordan though.
All around, you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, like I think even with the scoring that Ovechkin has done and the all-around career that Crosby has had and the career that McDavid is putting together, no one is putting them in the same category as Gretzky and asking if they're the overall GOAT like they are with LeBron and Jordan.
Right.
It's a very unique thing to basketball, I feel, where you have two players that are as dominant as they are. Because you have the old head saying, like, oh, LeBron was chasing rings, and then you have all the new people saying, like, oh, Jordan was playing against guys that, like, it's not quite the, oh, Wilt was playing against plumbers, but, it's like the modern day equivalent of that,
Right. Well,
But-
but the same could be said about Gretzky too, and I think it's
could,
culture
yeah.
difference too. I think maybe.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's the older generation in basketball, but I feel like there's like you said, even the younger generation has always been brought up that Gretzky's the GOAT, and
Yes.
that's just how it is, and
Yeah.
no one is even trying to compare themselves to that. And I feel like
Yeah.
LeBron though has tried to compare himself to Gretzky
has.
or to
Yeah.
Michael.
I think a lot of people would argue that that was also put on him from the media because he had such notoriety out of high school and stuff like that as well.
I mean, but
he was
so
on
look at
he was
these-
on ESPN in high school.
But look at the hockey, I guess, is less popular. But I mean,
Yeah.
you look at this media storm like Connor Bedard has had
Yeah.
coming out of juniors. I mean, that in itself is just ridiculous. I mean, he was on every single everything,
Yeah.
and so I guess his career just started. But I don't know. I feel like though that debate, you get some pretty hot debates. It's a hot
Yeah.
button issue in the basketball community. I feel like 'cause-
I think the exposure that LeBron had was just so different because like he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated when he was 16.
Yeah.
And he is being touted as the future as a 16-year-old. Which is crazy.
you're not wrong. You're
like
not
that
wrong.
is just like, think about, apart from the pressures that the outside is putting on you, what about the pressures that you're putting on yourself, seeing all that stuff? Like, how do you possibly silence all that? Is insane.
And McDavid, when he was 12, they had people saying this is the future of the NHL. When he was 12,
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't on the cover of Sports Illustrated, but
Yeah.
people were aware of him
Yeah.
when he was 6 years before he was drafted. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I'd say that's just the difference between the popularity of basketball and hockey, obviously playing a part into it. Like, I feel like if hockey is as popular as basketball, you have the exact same situation. But
But you're hearing less and less about basketball because people are tired of basketball.
You are.
I know some.
You are, yes.
Some pretty pretty above average sports fans who refuse to watch the NBA just because it's trash.
Yeah.
It's,
like that. Yeah, the NBA has lost itself, I feel, too, which is a topic for another time. But
right, and with all this college basketball recently, that was like kind of my my yearly dose of basketball is the college March Madness tournament. So
yeah.
How was your bracket? Did your bracket
terrible
do any good?
No, bracket sucked. It was busted after the night slate on the first day.
Yeah,
bad. This was such a run of the mill bracket with so many higher seeds winning that I try to pick upsets and just none of them were happening.
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird bracket though too because all 4 1 seeds were in the Final Four.
Yeah, how about that?
So I think from what I've heard, a lot like there was more brackets that were better on it than most times because of that specific stat.
Excuse me. Yeah, you have a lot of people that don't know basketball much that are just picking high seeds, and they don't think it's out of the ordinary to have all 4 1 seeds hit the Final Four.
Yeah, so there was no big upsets.
Exactly.
But I was in one of my leagues. Someone had a 97% accurate bracket going into Final Four.
Jeez.
And this is someone who I know as a fact. Read, this person has never watched basketball in their entire life. So that just kind of tells you, I think, how it works. So
exactly.
If this was a year for a perfect bracket, I think that could have happened. But
this all this LeBron talk and Gretzky talk and GOAT talk got me thinking about how fortunate we are to have grown up in the era of sports that we did. Because you could argue that we got to see all of the best eras of all the sports. Basketball, you had LeBron and Kobe and those guys anchoring that. Hockey, Crosby, Ovechkin. Baseball, Jeter on the Yankees, Ortiz on the Red Sox. Football, Tom Brady's prime. You could go on and on. For me as a tennis player growing up, you had Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, Murray, the big four, like the eras of sports that we had all coinciding at the same time.
Tiger Woods with the golf.
Tiger Woods for golf, if you want to pull golf in. You could talk about soccer with Messi and
Ronaldo.
Ronaldo,
yeah.
Like you had obviously, recency bias is a thing and everything, but still you have some of the best players of all time playing all at the same time across their respective sports.
Absolutely. Even in just for we were making fun of it earlier, but Chicago, I saw the dynasty in my childhood, and to think that something like that probably will never happen for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Is crazy. It was probably the best 10 years that the team has ever had since in their existence,
Exactly. Yeah.
And to be able to see it and be a fan of that team is wild, or to see the Knights go to the final in their first season.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Is something that again will probably never happen just because of rules and how they have it set up now. But
and just how many things need to go right. Apart from rules, there's so much that needs to go right for stuff like that to happen. Which makes it such one-off moments. It feels like.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. Which is what makes sports great,
Absolutely.
A team can wake up one day and figure it out, and they'll be great and, never turn back. And a great team can wake up one day and play like crap and, be in the basement for a while.
Well,
And that's
Hopefully
just
they won't
sports.
end up like the birds in my basement. But I think we need to move on to odd
Dad,
news.
like the
Ladies,
Sabres.
Okay. Oh, jeez. Oh, boy. Okay. Well, we got to move on to odd news. We've been moving along here today.
I have some ad playing on. 1 second.
Okay.
How do I
well, that's
mute it?
not good.
Oh
I
my
don't know.
gosh. Some ad just started playing from the odd news site, and I don't know what it was. It was very intense. I got scared.
I apologize.
It's definitely not the Residence Inn hotel ad that I have here. But
By the way, I don't think we mentioned this often enough, but UPI, this is where we get all these odd news stories from. Fantastic website. If you ever
if
they
we're
have
speaking of goats, the goats of odd news.
Yes, the ghost of odd news is upi.com.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, check it out. It is
couldn't tell
fantastic.
you one thing about their regular news coverage. God, the audio's starting again. Where is this coming from?
I don't know, but while you figure that out, I'll go ahead and start with mine. Trash was cleared recently from a New Jersey beach, and some of the objects that were found are a little out of the ordinary.
Can I guess
Reid,
what they are?
It's a little interesting, as long as you don't have that news story up, because I will come through the screen. I will come through the screen and hit you with your own microphone.
Can I guess that one was a full can of ravioli?
A full can of ravioli.
Was it Chef Boyardee?
It might have been. Things, including the can of ravioli, vampire teeth. That's interesting. A rubber foot, I thought, was rather strange. I don't know what you use a rubber foot for. A punching bag. A full container of Wawa brand sausage and eggs.
Okay.
Interesting. Sure. I don't know about you, but
Do you know what Wawa
Jimmy
is?
Dean's? No idea. I'm a big Jimmy Dean's guy.
Wawa's a gas station out in the east, big in Philly.
Ah, well, I would not know. A gallon of maple syrup. That is a lot of maple syrup, my
premium
friend.
stuff too.
That is.
That ain't cheap.
It's not like it grows on trees. It grows in trees. Anyway, an
Good one.
Invisalign retainer was also recovered. Those are expensive.
Those are
ladies and
also
gentlemen. Those are expensive.
Yeah.
A message in a liquor bottle. I mean, that's interesting.
I like how they specified the bottle.
I know. There was an inflatable hot tub, a bedpan. You know what a bedpan is?
Unfortunately.
Okay. Well,
Yep.
they found one of those on the beach. Multiple, and not just one, multiple uncooked hams. Maybe if they fell off a boat, we don't know.
Uncooked hams.
Multiple, not just one, multiple
Oh my gosh.
uncooked hams.
That's funny.
And a boat cabin door along with a bathroom sink. So this was interesting. I'm trying to see where this was cleaned up. So this was it was in New Jersey. 2024 beach cleanup operations resulted in 276,899 pieces of trash that were cleaned up, including several unusual items. So very interesting. I think we should also mention that Clean Ocean Action says this year's beach sweeps will kick off on April 12th. That's for
there you go.
some of their big week of cleaning up the beach. So if you're out taking a walk, you see, a full unopened can of ravioli, go ahead and pick that up.
Yeah.
You got yourself
you
some
forgot
dinner.
some items in here, too. You didn't mention a couple of these.
I did that on purpose. Thank you very much. If you are curious about the items I did not mention, feel free, upi.com.
Oh, man.
But there was a couple more that I chose to not say for obvious reasons. But if you're interested, again, upi.com.
Yeah.
That's where you can find those. So,
Well, mine is a little bit more fun, I guess you could call it.
mine was fun. Who doesn't like cleaning
that's
beaches?
True. Yours is fun, yeah. This one is it's about MCS Cruises. They set a world record for the longest line of Lego ships.
Oh.
They wanted to celebrate a new cruise ship, so they lined up 1,391 Lego ships on the deck on MCS World America during the voyage from its shipyard in Saint-Nazaire, France, to its new home port in Miami, Florida. Saint-Nazaire, France.
There you go.
I thought that like Matt Berry talks.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but
You don't know who Matt Berry is?
I probably would if I saw him, but
Have you seen the IT Crowd?
no.
No, Matt Berry's hilarious. You definitely know who he is. Speaking of which, he makes a cameo in the Minecraft movie, and I went to see that last night, and we need to talk about that at some point on this show because, Oh boy, do I have thoughts about the Minecraft movie.
Oh, I saw Wicked over the weekend on the flight. But
Okay.
anyway, maybe next week is movie review. Anyway,
There you go. Oh, I like
continue.
that. So there was a team of about 1,500 crew members. They lined up all these boats. They stretched 292 feet. And of course, a Guinness World Records adjudicator was on deck to witness the attempt and certify the record.
Of
and
course.
the naming ceremony for the ship is scheduled for Wednesday, which is today. And it's going to begin its inaugural Caribbean season on Saturday. And this just in addition to the story, David Rush popped out of nowhere and said, I can do better than that. and said, 1,500 boats, here I come, and I'll do it in half the time.
Yeah, he's where it's at, David Rush.
And then I will balance them all on my nose.
Yeah, and then juggle flaming unopened cans of ravioli, and he'll be doing 15 records.
Jersey.
Yeah, he'll be doing 15 records at once. David Rush, fantastic individual.
This may be the first week of odd news that there is not a single David Rush story on the front page here on UPI.
I know.
Wow,
David Rush, you're slacking. I'm gonna need you to pick this up. We need some more odd news.
Yeah. Wow.
So, anyway, yeah, that was interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
I still feel like some of those records we can break on the show. We'll have to talk about that. But
how about this one? Doing 10,000 pull-ups in 24 hours?
Oh, clearly that's something with my upper body strength I could pull off. You know.
Oh, one thing that I want to bring up real quick.
Well, hurry up because we're almost out of time here.
Did you have any good April Fool's jokes that you saw?
No.
No? My one thing with April Fool's is that, here's the thing. I see all of my April Fool's stuff on Facebook, okay? But the Facebook algorithm is absolutely terrible, and I saw all the April Fool's posts on April 2nd.
No.
And I'm like, well, this would have been
good.
a lot more funny if I would have seen this yesterday, but now this just is just another dumb joke that has aged poorly.
Yeah.
But
thank you for inserting your thoughts about April Fool's Day.
That's all I had to say on April Fool's. You know, I just kind of wanted to voice my displeasure at Meta for having a bad algorithm. But
Reid's the fool this April, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out. It's been fun. We'll catch you on the next one. I'm Logan. That's Reid. We have social media platforms. Reid can tell you about those real quick.
Don't be a
fool.
fool. Go follow us. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Basement Birds. We're everywhere.
We're everywhere. All at once, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk to you. Thanks for tuning in.
See ya.